Welcome to the Fear and Greed Afternoon Report for Thursday, the 24th of February 2022. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon, we'll bring you the 5 news items that you need to know about. Let's jump into it. Story number 1. Russia invaded Ukraine this morning in what President Vladimir Putin called a special military operation in some of the eastern zones of Ukraine, though fighting was reported as far away as Kyiv, 380 kilometres from the border. There was immediate condemnation from around the globe, and it sent equity markets tumbling, with the S&P ASX 200 closing down 3% to 6,990 points. Around 90% of companies trading on the exchange lost value today. The banks tumbled, the miners tumbled. BHP was down nearly 7% after it went ex-dividend. The technology and healthcare stocks fell, as did many cyclical stocks. Even the oil and gas stocks fell, notwithstanding a jump in Brent crude oil prices above $100 a barrel. Qantas announced its 4th half-year loss in a row. That, alongside the crisis in the Ukraine, triggered a near 5% fall in its share price. But the worst performers had little to do with the geopolitical crisis in Europe. Tracking company Life360 and software intelligence group Appen both shed close to 30% after disappointing investors during their respective half-year earnings announcements. Only the gold miners did well as a sector, as the price of the precious metal jumped. Market-leading Newcrest Mining rose more than 4%, while Perseus Mining was up nearly 13%. Story number 2, I mentioned Qantas's big loss. Another in the same industry to report today was Flight Centre. It made a loss of $194 million. Its boss, Graham Turner, said the travel group is having its best month since the COVID-19 pandemic began. Things are heading back to normal, he said, helped by some governments, particularly those in Europe, starting to treat the virus as endemic. But the Ukraine crisis isn't going to help. Flight Centre's share price tumbled 8% today. Story number 3, it's been weeks, or days, possibly weeks, since I've spoken of a new takeover on the ASX. But today, Spanish construction company Grupo ACS launched a $1.5 billion hostile takeover bid for the remaining stake in engineering company CIMIC that it doesn't already own. Now, ACS already owns 78.6% of the company, and if successful, and it should be, then CIMIC will join Sydney Airport and Afterpay, leaving the ASX this year. CIMIC's share price jumped 33% today after the announcement to $22, which is exactly what ACS is offering. Story number 4, billionaire politician Clive Palmer has been taken to hospital in Queensland to be tested for COVID-19. Mr. Palmer and his wife were transported by ambulance. Mr. Palmer, of course, is a vocal opponent of vaccine mandates and has not been vaccinated himself. Let's hope he isn't too unwell. In story number 5, you'll need to stay with me on this one. US life insurers, as expected, made a large number of COVID-19 death benefit payouts last year. But many saw a jump in other death claims too. Now, industry executives and actuaries believe many of the other fatalities are tied to delays in medical care as a result of lockdowns in 2020, and then later, people's fears of seeking out treatment and trouble lining up appointments. Some insurers see continued high levels of deaths for some time, even though COVID-19 deaths are declining. It wasn't the coronavirus that ended people's lives, it was the indirect effects of the virus. That's it for the afternoon report for Thursday, the 24th of February 2022. Don't forget to hit follow on the podcast and find Fear and Greed on LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook. Join Michael Thompson and I tomorrow morning for the Friday Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.